Your Excellencies, dear organizers and partners, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the online conference on theme Digital Transformation for a Sustainable Economy. The conference is organized by the SDG Rollout Support and Private Sector Engagement Project, implemented by UNDP and financed by SIDA. We would like to express gratitude to the Foreign Trade Chamber of Bosnia-Herzegovina for partnering with us in this conference. This conference is the opening event for the SDG Business Week in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have an excellent lineup of speakers with us today, so I would like to invite Her Excellency Johanna Strömquist to give opening remarks on behalf of the Embassy of Sweden.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the online conference, Digital Transformation for Sustainable Economy, the opening event for this year's SDG Business Week in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This is the third year that we organize an SDG Business Conference and also an SDG Business Week. And little did we know when we started that we would find ourselves in this situation this year, being forced to have the conference online. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced us to pause our business as usual and take a step back. And hopefully it will give us a chance to rethink. It has shown how interconnected we are, how dependent we are on each other. And it has made it clear that we have to work even more closely together to tackle our common challenges in Europe and globally. In doing so, it will be important to ensure that all measures to mitigate the consequences, economic, health, labor, and gender-related, reach all individuals in need without discrimination. Socioeconomic inequalities may be compounded by the outbreak of the pandemic, but also our responses can make them worse if we don't do it right. We know that already marginalized groups and individuals are particularly vulnerable in times of crisis. It will soon be 5 years since the world promised to leave no one behind. And now it is truly the time to honor this commitment by translating the Sustainable Development Goals into our collective response to the COVID-19 outbreak. We need to use our limited resources in a smarter way to build back better and greener. Hopefully the past months can serve as an encouragement to unite our forces to work together in partnership. And this partnership to build back better and greener, everybody's involved in, including the private sector. Today's challenges are multifaceted and require a holistic response. We must secure and build on past progress in order to create stronger and more resilient communities for future shocks and crises. Because unfortunately, we can expect that there will be more of those in the future, both pandemics and natural disasters, unless we change the way we do things. We need to think about...
Ako naravno ne promijenimo način na koji djelujemo. Također moramo imati na umu ograničene globalne resurse koje imamo.
We have to go back to basics and change the way we live by doing less. I think the way forward is to do more, and what will save us is really innovation and creativity. So this is, I think, what we all have to do together. We have to be creative, we have to innovate new solutions, and by that also create a better future for all. Already before COVID-19, we knew that digitalization was playing a significant role in sustainable development, and that it had a major impact on people's lives. This pandemic has really shown the importance of improving access to digitalization in order to leave no one behind. Most of us could continue working almost as before, uninterrupted during the lockdown this spring due to meetings and conversations taking place online. And it will also give us a chance to focus on innovation and to use our resources in a smart way if we go down that path to digitalize further. In this, the private sector will be essential and a driver of change, both in terms of innovation and innovative creative thinking, but also financing. Financial resources from governments are no longer enough. Engagement from the private sector is essential to closing the financing gap. And change supporting a change supporting a sustainable development is also coming from the private sector, and the business community is starting to see sustainability as a competitive advantage. In Sweden, the private sector is increasingly integrating sustainability into the core of business models, and it's by that driving innovation. We are proud that the role of our network, Swedish Investors for Sustainable Development, played in inspiring the formation of a global initiative, Global Investors for Sustainable Development, launched in 2019 by the UN Secretary General. The Swedish government has also integrated the SDGs into its trade and investment strategy, and is working with the private sector to promote social dialogue as a means to create decent jobs and inclusive growth through the Global Deal Partnership. In the EU, the transition towards a circular economy is already underway, with front-runner businesses, consumers and public authorities in Europe embracing the sustainable model. The European Union has adopted a Green Deal as a central pillar of our economic recovery. And for the countries in the Western Balkans, the Green Agenda will play a crucial role for transitioning towards a more sustainable economy. For Bosnia and Herzegovina, it's an added bonus that there's a significant overlap between the reforms that Bosnia and Herzegovina need to undertake on its road to EU accession and the 2030 agenda. We know that the current economic model is not sustainable given the limited resources of our planet. Therefore, we must move towards circularity to reduce our environmental impact, to fulfill the Paris Agreement, and to achieve the SDGs. Using the compass of the SDGs will create new jobs, reduce inequality and poverty, and protect the environment for future generations. Sweden is contributing to this work in Bosnia and Herzegovina. One way of doing it is through this conference. I think it's fantastic to bring so many interesting speakers together, and also this audience that has a lot of knowledge and experience. And I'm looking forward to what this week can produce in terms of creativity and innovations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Your Excellence. Now I invite the resident representative of UNDP in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Ms. Steljana Nedera, to address the online audience. Ms. Nedera.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome on behalf of the team of the United Nations Development Programme in Bosnia and Herzegovina to this conference. Definitely, the Sustainable Development Goals bring us together every year. And during this week, we would like to deepen this conversation, explore new dimensions, and look forward. Bosnia and Herzegovina is making steady progress in preparing a comprehensive framework for the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is very close to formal approval. And this is a significant milestone. We have also made good progress in the last 3 years in getting on board companies, the business sector, in understanding how the Sustainable Development Goals are beneficial to them and how they can contribute through the way they work, through the products they produce, through organization of the business to advancing the Sustainable Development Goals. By making the production cleaner, expanding the number of jobs, paying attention to the community, definitely they are bringing the important contribution. UNDP, as a member of the UN family in Bosnia and Herzegovina, together with the fellow sister agencies, funds and programs, and under the leadership of the UN Resident Coordinator, is fully committed to supporting the Sustainable Development Goals implementation. Our entire work is dedicated to that. What we see this year as an impact of the COVID-19 crisis is definitely a slide back on some important SDGs. For example, the loss of jobs, the negative impacts, first of all on women, but also on young people and the low skilled, the risk of increasing levels of poverty, the increasing levels of inequality. What this means for us is that we have to put all our forces and work together with partners to ensure that when we recover, we recover better. As Johanna said, we think of solutions that actually helping us jump forward instead of fixing the situation back to the status quo. Therefore, for us, at the foundational aspect of the recovery and the work that we're going to dedicate ourselves to in the next period is look at solutions that are helping accelerating the SDGs, because the SDGs is what guides us in the long term, to look at ways in which the economy can become greener and the economy can benefit from the revolution happening in the world in terms of a technological transformation and acceleration. This conference today definitely puts the spotlight on the value of digital solutions. Maybe we will also discuss about the risks that the digital bring to this in terms of cybersecurity and the fact that these digital solutions have to work for the people. And we have to always make sure that whatever we implement, we are keeping the risks in mind. This conference is structured in two panels today, where in the first panel, the EU experience will be brought to all participants today in the big picture in the digital transformation. And we will hear about concrete examples, how the policy changes trickle down to national levels and how they have been applied and used in concrete settings. In the second part, we will also discuss about elements of good practices and voices of business people from Bosnia and Herzegovina, the benefits that digital transformation are already showing and what they have brought here. Bosnia and Herzegovina can jumpstart on this front. We firmly believe that because of the sound communication and internet infrastructure and the growing IT sector. So the crisis is an accelerator. So the SDGs should be also an accelerator. With a decade of action started in 2020, we have only 10 years for the implementation of the SDGs. So definitely we have to look at ways to work to get change happen faster. This week is dedicated to recognizing the multifaceted approaches to embracing the SDGs, to looking at success stories, lessons learned, but also how we can network better and work better together. I am sure that many of you will find it interesting to follow, and I invite you again to look at the agenda of this week's event and to join us. Also in recognizing the champions, the SDG business pioneers during this year that are coming out of a long race and a tough race of fighting for the best practices in their work. The Leaders Tribe on Wednesday, the SDG Accelerator for SMEs on Thursday, and the closing event, the panel on the role of universities that are embracing entrepreneurship in creation of a new generation of entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs on Friday. Please join us for this week of events. Thank you again for joining the conference today. I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. Nedera. We are privileged to have the support of the Foreign Trade Chamber of Bosnia and Herzegovina in the organization of this conference. Thank you very much for this, Mr. Vjekoslav Vukovic. The floor is yours.
So, my dear colleagues, my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, thank you for very warm welcome words that you expressing to us. And allow me to thank you for this presence of this such a very great and important event, not just for Bosnia and Herzegovina, EU and Bosnia and Herzegovina as well, which is in one way represent innovation in economic potential, not just for the technology, but in the terms of creating of thinking in the future, how to develop sustainable economy using the digital transformation. I will a little bit take this time for mentioning some figures from Bosnia and Herzegovina. According to latest data in Bosnia and Herzegovina last year, ICT sector generated 2.8 billion of convertible KM of the progressive money. Let's say that on total sales in Bosnia and Herzegovina, they're producing 4.4%. That sector contributes with less than 9% in total GDP in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And if we take in account that in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we count in around 32,000 companies, only in ICT sector, there is 1,100 companies in Bosnia and Herzegovina without COVID time, let's say like that. By 2020, European Union plans to channel almost 50 billion euros to its funds for development of digital infrastructure, which could also be an opportunity for Bosnia and Herzegovina if we really are prepared and would like to catch that train. The ICT Association of the Foreign Trade Chamber in Bosnia and Herzegovina is not only just an association that identifying the problems and propose adequate solution, but in his full capacity, it seeks to cooperate.
Već zaista u svom punom kapacitetu težimo jednoj saradnji sa vlastima u BiH na svim novima kako bismo konkretizirali planove
Strategies and action plans for developing the BH software industry and software society. Foreign Trade Chamber believes in the future that we have got potential for our direct social energy towards educating 25,000 software engineers and making the future of the Bosnia and Herzegovina like a software industry country. Namely, the time we live is encrusted by the software solutions, digitalization of industrial processes, light speeds in communication, but also by rapid development of artificial intelligence. Altogether requires a sophisticated approach to cybersecurity, legislating all processes and protocols using modern technologies. Otherwise, we will really enter into the vulnerable dimension. Of course, such concepts of developing that provide very speed of information exchange, managing processes that they are unavailable to hard to reach for a man. Let's say that digitalization in all the kinds of industry, transport, medicine, education, and making is generator of the modern economy. We should not forget in that time artificial intelligence. Technology itself and tools have great potential for the welfare of the community, but also the equal potential for its destruction. In order to find a balance between good and bad, is using of these technologies, speed of information transfer, or the release of modern technological solutions into our daily life, we really must clearly establish rigorous standards, procedures, respectively policies and strategies for developing those technologies.
strategije za njihov razvoj i primjenu.
More attention for domestic intellect and expertise by participating in development and application of these digital systems, and at the same time empowering the internal economy. Externally, information exchange, speed of access to them, and easy understanding of new technologies leads to openness towards the business world, which knows no boundaries and thus enables cooperation and freedom of movement, both of people and goods, knowledge, experience, and for the benefit of all of us. This is about modernizing the culture and integrity of the business, because each modern technology does not allow unclear rules, let's say speculative or favored space for individuals, but opens the path of equality based on competence and competitiveness. Just today, let's say that really, I do hope so that the participants of this conference will come up with some of the answers of those different ideas, different dilemmas. And I really would like to take this opportunity to thank you all, organizers, co-parents, and specifically to all of you that recognize that the idea of the future development of society and the economy is initiator and must be like sustainable economy pass through this digital transformation, not just waiting the new COVID time. Once again, really thank you for all of you. And I do hope so that we will have a chance to answer some of your very direct questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Vukovic. We've heard your message loud and clear. We are ready to start with the first panel. Before I give the word to Mr. Sandro Delia of the European Commission, I kindly invite all of you to submit your questions and suggestions in the chat boxes of the webinar and the comment sections for you who follow us via the Facebook stream. Right now, we have more than 250 people that join us in this conference. So our team of colleagues is monitoring the conversations closely and will make sure your comments and suggestions are delivered to the panel moderators. So without any further ado, I give the word to Mr. Delia, who will give us the platform for the first panel. When he ends, Mr. Mattia Wilfan will take over the moderation and introduce you to the panelists of the panel, Digitizing Economy, Best Practices to Promote the Digital Transformation of SMEs. Mr. Delia, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you very much. I hope everybody can see and hear me. If anybody can also put on the screen my presentation, I will be very grateful. So, my name is Sandro Delia, and I work for the European Commission in the DG Connect, so the part of the European Commission which deals with digital technologies in general. Can you go to the first slide, please? Why I am here? I am here for one main reason, because the European Union supports the double integration of Western Balkans countries within the Union. So I'm not here as a tourist or just an observer or things like that. The European Commission believes that Western Balkans and Bosnia and Herzegovina in particular belong to the European Union and have to access the European Union as soon as possible. Last year, there was the so-called opinion of the European Commission on the accession of Bosnia and Herzegovina, which said that Bosnia and Herzegovina is a potential candidate. This means that there is a lot of work to do, but the road is that one. 1 year before, in 2018, the Commission launched also the digital agenda for the Western Balkans, which included several actions, several activities to help Western Balkans to get up to speed for good accession to the European Union, to be the same level of other EU countries when they will join. And this is what I'm going to discuss about you. Next slide, please. So, I have only one core message to give you on behalf of the European Commission, is that the green and digital transitions, which are often called the twin transitions, are at the core of the industrial strategy of the European Commission. What does it mean? It means that there is no matter of discussing an industrial strategy and then doing some greenwashing or doing something to make it more green. The economy of tomorrow has to be both digital and green together. The two things have to go together and need each other, because we will never meet the objectives of the European Green Deal without digital technologies, and we will never have a competitive economy without heavy investments in digital economy. Next slide, please. This European Commission, at the beginning of their mandate in 2019, let's say, published an initial agenda, political agenda, outlining the key objectives of the Commission. And the first one is the first headline ambition in this thing is the European Green Deal. So it was very clear from the beginning. I will not go into detail of what is written in this slide. You can easily read the agenda for Europe and make your own opinion. But I just want to tell you that already in the agenda was clearly specified that the European Commission would use the power of doing laws that it has to put climate neutrality into law, and would use the power of spending, that is the other big power, let's say, of the European Commission, to create a just transition fund and to finance the green transition. So this means that it's something very, very serious, because the European Commission is basically too big. Well, they said the European Union has three ways of working. One is putting people together around the table for discussing whatever is needed. The other one is making laws, and the third one is investing money. So the European Commission is planning to use all three these possibilities to create a European Green Deal that is the European growth strategy. I want to tell it again, it's not something different. The European Green Deal is the growth strategy. And let's say, the COVID crisis has demonstrated it even better. Next slide, please. Let's go to something more recent. The quote here is from the State of the Union speech of Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, which was done just a few weeks ago in September. In that speech, there was a pledge which is very, very strong. Increasing the target of cutting greenhouse gas emissions from 45% to 55% in 2030. Now, 2030 is basically tomorrow. This is very, very aggressive target. I don't know if it will be met at the end, but I can assure you that there is all the political will to do whatever is possible to do it. And the other important thing is that Europe will emerge stronger from the pandemic of coronavirus only by investing in circular economy, in a circular economy which is efficient from a point of view of resources, efficient from a point of view of the use of our planet, let's say, because it has to be sustainable. There is no other way around. And the idea that the COVID would, put this on hold is simply not feasible. I mean, we don't have another way. Next slide, please. Now, of course, the road to sustainability is our choice. Under a certain point of view, is certain that we will have in the future to be careful in what we consume, in how we use the resources of our planet, maybe consume less, go back to basics, but up to a certain point, because we could go back to living as our ancestors in the Middle Age, but in the Middle Age, people died at 40. This is not what we want. While reducing maybe some unnecessary consumption, if we want to have a sustainable economy, we necessarily need a lot of digital technology to develop technology which is sustainable. Next slide, please. I want to make us think about something interesting. If you imagine any of the objects that you see around you, any complex object that is a car, a boiler, an elevator, an industrial machine, a plane, basically has a computer inside. Even the microwave oven has a computer which defines, how you cook all your food. Basically, there are no exceptions to this. When thinking about this slide, the only exception I could find is a classical orchestra. If you love symphonic music like me, you will find that a violin or a grand concert piano is a completely mechanical object, very complex and so on. But just because we love tradition in this case, because then if you listen to your symphony, it will be recorded with a lot of digital technology. This is just an example to say that whatever we do in any sector of the economy, of our private life, we need the digital technology, and we will never be able to cut greenhouse emissions by 55% in 2030 without the help of a lot of digital technology. Next slide, please. One very important part of digital technology is all the things which now go under the name of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is something very important for the future, in which Europe believes a lot, which can be also dangerous, as Mr. Vukovic President Vukovic was saying. That's why the European Commission is discussing about the possibility of regulating some aspects of artificial intelligence. But there is no doubt that it can help a lot the green transition. For example, think about in agriculture. Through artificial intelligence, there are companies which allow to use less fertilizers and less water for growing crops, of using a terrain which is more difficult for normal, agricultural machines, but make it usable. In the area of monitoring, you can have you can use artificial technologies a lot, for example, in the area of smart cities, to optimize the transport, to optimize the movement of people, to offer the services which are needed by citizens when they are needed, without wasting anything. It's possible to find the new solutions. That is, in many cases, through artificial intelligence, you can implement solutions which simply were not possible before. One example is waste processing, which is a problem everywhere in the world. Through robotic sorting, you can improve a lot the processes which reuse part of the things that we throw away. Also in the area, in the more scientific area, think about modeling climate changes or forecasting extreme weather. For example, I am Italian. Now in the northwest of Italy, there is a terrible weather. There have been people missing for the bad weather. These kind of things can be better forecasted and controlled, let's say, if you add artificial intelligence to the classical digital technologies. Next slide, please. This is an example, a slide which I borrowed from IoT, the Alliance for Internet of Things Innovation, which shows how artificial intelligence and several other digital technologies could help in agriculture. So they could help, for example, in sensing and actuating, for example, crop diffusion, having tractors, machines which work autonomously, without the need of a person over there, sensing which is the situation, and so on. All these are very interesting things, and you should consider one important aspect, that all these let's say novelties are not do not have the objective of keeping people out of a job, of taking out the job from people working in agriculture now. On the contrary, they have the objective of using, for example, terrain which is now not good enough for producing something, using it better, avoiding very extensive agriculture which is damaging for the environment, and so on. So can have a lot of positive impacts if, of course, if we control it carefully. And that's why European Union wants to, will probably regulate in some way some aspects of artificial intelligence. Next slide, please. Where not everything is nice, and digital technologies and artificial intelligence in general have what the British call the skeleton in the cupboard. They have something to hide, because digital technology in itself has a very heavy impact on the environment, because all the digital devices that we use rare earth materials. They are subject to rapid obsolescence, and so a lot of e-waste is generated. And especially there is the problem of energy consumption. I have two examples here, which are a bit, technical. I'm a bit of a geek, so forgive me, but are interesting. A microprocessor is the chip which is inside any type of computer or telephone or whatever. There is one which is a very powerful type of microprocessor. It's called the Intel Xeon 9282, which is very fast, very powerful, and has a top power of 400 watt. To give you an idea, an electric bike uses 250 watts. So it's the power that you can use to move my 85 kilos and somebody else 85 kilos around the city without sweating. And it's used in this microprocessor only to move around bits, or to move around information. It's definitely too much. So microelectronics has a huge energy consumption. In artificial intelligence, if anybody of you is following what's happening in artificial intelligence, there is now a thing called GPT-3, which is a very sophisticated model which allows to write text which looks like written by a human, is very intelligent, can do many, many things. And this thing has to be trained, to start working. An estimation of how much energy was used for the training of this model is about 500 megawatt. To tell megawatt hour is a quantity of energy. To give you a comparison, if you produce steel by electricity, by using electricity, you can produce 1,000 tons of steel with the same amount of energy. So it's something really huge. And we are going with artificial intelligence, if there are no changes in the technology, in the policy about this, we are going towards digital technologies which maybe on one side help us to meet some green objectives, on the other side waste so much energy and do so many bad things that in the end they will be very, very negative for the environment. Next slide, please. Now, very practically, what is the European Union doing? How is the European Union supporting digital technologies in the future? You may know that up to now, the research and innovation of European Union was financed through the Horizon 2020 program. The Horizon 2020 program ends now in 2020. From the next year, we will have two different programs. One is called Horizon Europe, and is the new research and innovation. And it will help a lot, will support a lot twin transitions, what I said before, the twin transition towards green and digital technology. There will be a lot of topics supported by Horizon Europe through research and innovation programs, which deal with the twin transition. Will support resource efficiency in industry, and will support all the digital technologies for the Green Deal. Here we are talking about mostly the research and the innovation part. On the other side, we have a brand new program called Digital Europe, which is dedicated to what we call capacity building. That means the deployment, the large-scale deployment of technology, because we know that it's not enough to do a wonderful technology in the lab. The technology has an impact, and especially has an impact on the Green Deal if it is deployed at large scale. So through the Digital Europe program, through a network of what we call digital innovation hubs, we will make sure that any company in Europe, even small ones, even the ones which are, in remote regions and underdeveloped regions, will have the possibility to get access to the digital technology they need. One other thing very important, which will be done through the Digital Europe program, is the so-called Destination Earth. So the simulation of our planet, basically. Because we talk a lot about climate change, about extreme weather, about depletion of natural resources, but actually it's very difficult to measure and to understand how much damage we are doing. So Destination Earth will allow to measure and to simulate what is happening and to take better policy decisions. All these things are very, very important for the future of Europe. Next slide, please. The other important part of this is the EU industrial strategy, which is, of course, extremely, very much linked to the research and innovation that we do. The picture that you see here is taken from the official presentation of the EU industrial strategy. As you see, the competitiveness of Europe is considered as supported by green transition on one side, digital transition on the other side. These are the so-called twin transitions that we talk about. And again, the objective, the real long-term objective, is to make Europe the first climate neutral continent by 2050. So this means making sure that all the CO2, all the greenhouse gases that we emit are absorbed again. And on the other side, for digital technologies, allowing all the economic players to make the use of digital technology, to have access to the digital technology they need. COVID-19 crisis has made this strategy, the next generation EU strategy, even more relevant. We have seen, we had a crash course with COVID-19 on how much digital technologies are useful, because there were companies that were able to switch from normal operations to digital operations in almost no time. Companies which were not able to do this made a huge difference, and will make a huge difference in the recovery from the economic crisis now. So basically, I've repeated always the same message, but I tell it again because it's important. The European Commission is dedicated to pushing for this twin transition towards green economy supported by digital technologies. The two things go together. The two things have been strengthened by COVID-19 crisis because it's the only way out. And this is what we will see in the future. Now, my last slide, please. Can you go to the last slide? There is a lot of work to do on digital technologies now. And I am happy to see that something is already happening. I work also as a project officer. That means the person of the European Commission, the official of the European Commission, which manages, let's say, research projects. And one of my projects is called HiPic. Last year, let's say, worked to contact the actors in digital technologies, especially in academy and research in Western Balkans, and they came also to Bosnia and Herzegovina. You can recognize very likely this bridge. together with another project, just to start having contacts, to meet people, to explain what's happening, and to make sure that the information of what is happening in European Union arrives in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So I'm very proud to say that something is already happening now, and these contacts between Bosnia and Herzegovina and the European Union have to increase over the time if we want to go ahead with the Green Deal and with the sustainable economy. That's all from my side. You can put my last slide, maybe, where you have my email, and I am of course available in case you want to hear anything about European Union policy from me. Thank you.
Hello, Sandro. I will use this your offer and ask you not to run away if everybody from the audience has a question about you. And Sandro, above all, thank you so much for your keynote contribution, really portraying the horizon on the technologies and system for digitizing the industry. For everybody, my name is Mattia Wilfan. And more importantly, the Sandro that was giving the presentation to you, just for your information, he has started in the area of digital transformation since the 80s as a young software engineer. And today, as he mentioned, is a manager of research innovation projects, trying to transpose the technology to everyday life. But even more, as you saw, Sandro is really a shaper of future, contributing to the EU policy on green and digital transformation. And his keynote was really a good introduction into our panel, into our panel discussion, and really a good link to the work that we do at the Joint Research Center of the European Commission, which is the center where I worked for the last 2.5 years. We have also a lot of, if everybody would be more interested in the topic, there's a lot of on digital economy working papers. But one of the papers that's really interesting, I just want to mention it to kick off the debate, is the report on the digitalization and the future of work and employment. We see that, especially in the area of the SME, the sector, the approach to the digital transformation is very much marked by the perception of the technology. Fears of clever robots taking over the jobs and the work, and fear of gig platforms taking over the traditional working methods and designing them. But as the latest, comparing the past experience, but also looking forward to the trends, we see that the digital technology will not deterministically shape the future of work. So will not completely determine the shape of work. What will determine how the work of the future, the industry will look like, depends on the options and choices to actually see how the technology is put in place. And for that, who is better to give you a presentation how this can actually affect the everyday life as today's panelists? So first, I would ask you, Gunilla. Gunilla Torstensson is a coordinator of Smart Industry project at the Swedish Agency for Economic and Regional Growth. And she is all about really understanding challenges and the reality that the SMEs are finding themselves in. And she tries to understand the ecosystem approach, so she takes the ecosystem approach, so how to develop people and skills needed while having fun. And Gunilla, my question to you is, usually the SMEs have this challenge to coping up with the technology, not having the time to really embrace the technology just for the fun of it. But is it all about the technology? How do you address it in Sweden? How do you help the SMEs actually to drive them through the challenges and the change that the digital brings with itself?
Well, thank you very much. That's a great bridge to what I would like to tell you. Very nice to join you from the south of Stockholm today. My name is Gunilla Torstensson, and I'm representing Tillväxtverket, which is the Swedish Agency for Economic and Regional Growth. And so we're the agency in Sweden promoting sustainable growth and competitive companies in all of Sweden. We work with the small businesses, small and medium-sized businesses who want to grow and have the knowledge and capabilities and courage to do so. And one of the main strategies that we work with is the government's smart industry policy. And it's about digitalization, it's about skills development, it's about sustainable production, it's about promoting test beds. And we're focusing on digitalization and skills development. And one thing that we found is that companies who are open to change, who wants to open to change and therefore also embracing like digitalization and automation, they are in their operations, they are faster, they're better, they're more interesting to work with as an employee. So, and that's very important in Sweden, as we have trouble, many companies have trouble in finding employees with the right skills. So that would be one message. Another one would be, it is not only about technology. Of course, you have to be aware and have the knowledge, but it's also about attitude and the knowledge that you have at the board and at the managing level, and managers, for example, production managers. And if they are not open to change, there will happen nothing, so to speak. So that's why I have to work with the attitudes and the strategy and the plans that the company has. And many are mature enough to see this and do things and act upon it. I could say also that we have 50,000 small and medium-sized companies in the manufacturing sector in Sweden, and that's the companies that we focus on. We think about 4,500 companies, and not all of them are sort of where they need to be, especially not as the COVID-19 is also hampering their operations. Do you want me to continue, or?
If you have anything else to say, otherwise,
yes.
Yeah, please do.
Well, there's a few other things I was thinking about, and I think we have to present it as to the companies as something less complicated, because when we started talking about AI or Internet of Things, it sounds like you have to be an expert to get going. But the really important thing is that you have a learning by doing approach. So if companies decide to start up with a project, it doesn't matter how small, then they learn and they see that they can get the experts from outside, and they can bring in the expertise that they need. And that's also something very important. Sometimes companies need to start with the lean principles, for example, so that no waste is being digitalized, because that creates no value for the customers at all. So that would be one major learning as well. And in Sweden, we've had the Kickstart concepts as part of the Digital Lift, and that's like a seminar concept, which also has the which is a good thing also, because companies, they need each other. It's been very successful, now being conducted digitally, of course, as a consequence of the COVID-19. And we also had a lot of action with digitalization coaching, so that they get the insights from the Kickstart seminars, and then they get the action going with the coach who can help them sort of set out the stones to the path forward that they need to take. And that's been very successful. We have at least, I think now, more than 1,100 companies going through this change. So that's quite a good number, I think. And the intermediaries who present these offers to the companies, they have to be really sharp and critical. They have to be presented as critical to their business, because they have no time to just join something for fun, as you said earlier.
Vremena da budu dio nečega samo da bi se zabavljali, dakle.
Get the trust from the company, and in that, as part of that, of course, communication skills and the technology level in the actual person confronting or sort of going to the company and knock the door. And they probably have to knock many times. As many of you in the audience know, you're busy as a small industrial company. You need to have very specific value from what you can get from the expert that they want. Yeah, for example, like a coach has to be really concrete. And one thing that we think is very good is that you work with concrete, good examples, because then the companies see, okay, they did that, we can do this. We're not so different. We can do that also if they can. So that would be one of the many things. So starting with a company getting paperless, for example, that's a very good start for many companies. How can they do that? Well, they can get help from a coach. So that's about the main learnings from me, I think.
Yeah, that's excellent. I mean, that's so fabulous. I'll take less complicated, and bringing it to a very concrete problem. And since everybody is impacted, I think even more impacted is somebody in a small business, a local business, somebody family-owned business that is probably very local, and it's now faced with a change of digital transformation. And
can I just add to that?
Yeah,
because many of the companies that we work with, they have business abroad because they're in the manufacturing business, and then the Swedish companies in that sector are quite international. So they're not only local, but of course they are supplier to many other countries, of course.
And I think also, Gunilla, it's a good introduction into to our next panelist, because I would really like to see how is this done with the support of the e-Handiwerk service. We have a head of that service with us, so it's Anne Meyerhus. She's from the Chamber of Trades of Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. And I would really like to see, how do you do it? I mean, how do you recognize, combine traditional skills with new technologies? Is there an opportunity for small businesses, family-owned businesses in digital transformation? How do you find for those opportunities? How do you find them? How do you recognize them? How do you help them? The businesses, I mean.
Hello, Matisha. Thank you very much for the introduction. Hello. My name is Anne Meyerhus. I work for the Chamber of Trades in Luxembourg. And so we represent mostly very traditional, local, family-owned SMEs. So we are talking plumbers, electricians, bakeries, construction companies, mostly small companies with like 12 to 15 employees. And of course, the entrepreneurs are often, they have a lot of things to worry about. We are talking about cash flow, employment laws, lack of skilled workforce, COVID-19 and its consequences. So digital transformation is not always a priority for these entrepreneurs, and we can understand them. But we also know that the digital transformation is also happening in this sector. I mean, a very traditional sector would be the taxi driver sector, which we also represent, and we all know what happened with Uber in the United States. So also traditional businesses cannot just avoid digital transformation. So what we need to do is show these entrepreneurs that digital transformation is happening, that it is important, that they cannot miss it. We have to help them find financial aid. We have to help them find partnerships, because most of our business bosses do not have maybe the necessary competences. They are very, very skilled, but not necessarily when it comes to digitizing their business. We help them find financing, and what Gunilla said, we need to get some quick wins. So we need to show them that it's possible to digitalize their company, that it's not something impossible, that they don't need to invest millions of euros, that they can do it. So my team has been working for 3 years on this, and we learned some very basic lessons. Some of them Gunilla has also already presented. So one thing that is very important for information and for awareness raising is peer-to-peer awareness raising. So what we do is we invite entrepreneurs from traditional sectors that have already digitalized a part of their company, and invite them to speak to their peers and to show them exactly what they have done. They can tell them exactly how much it cost, how much time they invested, how much time the entrepreneur himself or herself invested every day, which is important for them to know. Who they worked with to get there, because we need consultants that really know our sector, because a small bakery is very different from a big industrial company. So we need people that know the sector. And also, you know, take away maybe a little bit of the fear they have from the unknown, because that might be something that they are not used to, and they might get a little scared. As Gunilla said, they think about artificial intelligence and robots and 3D printing. And really, we are not talking about that. We are often talking about electronic invoicing, which might help a lot, or electronic timesheets, which might really, really help a lot in a company. So it's very important. So we also organize audits for them with the digital consultants. The audits are financed by the Luxembourg government. So we are very, very lucky in that regard. And to have them, as Gunilla also said, I think we are very much in line on this. You should not digitalize any process in your company. You have first to analyze the processes that you have already in place, and then make them better, leaner, and then you can digitalize your processes. So you should not digitalize anything just for the sake of digitalizing, because that will be a huge waste of time and money. So we often begin with an analysis of the processes, see how we can make them leaner, see what really helps. Not every company needs to have the same instrument. Not every company needs to start with the same product or process. We really need to know our companies and then see what we can implement quickly, because a quick win will make the entrepreneur so much more open to other digital projects. So we always try to have a quick return on invest on the first project, so that they can really, really see the interest of all this. So a lot of it is time saving for the entrepreneur. We're talking skilled craftspeople. They don't want to spend their evenings writing offers. They want to do their job. So we often start with digitalizing some of the management of the company. And then we help them find the right partners. We have a lot of governmental programs in place, but not every program is for every company. So we try to find good fits. Often we have to make, people are busy. We try to make first contact with the consultants. We accompany them because they trust us. We are their chamber. We are the people that they know. And they sometimes need a trustworthy person to go with them, accompany them to the first results. That's we fill out applications. We do everything for them to reduce the administrative burden as far as we can, because those people have a lot to do, and we help as much as we can. As Gunilla said, we really look for less complicated solutions, to take their hands, do it together, show them what they can do. And we see that if you have a quick win, if you help a company digitalize one part of their management, and they see how much time they can win and how much money they can spend, you will not have to help them any further. They will go on and continue their digital transformation.
Thank you, Anne. I mean, this is really breaks down to I mean, it highlights my question and also introduces the next speaker. I mean, yes, often you are faced with with the questions like, okay, I want to start 3D printing tomorrow. I want to start using artificial intelligence. Okay, let's switch to blockchains tomorrow. With these big titles, I think it's all about really, well, not addressing wishes, but needs, actually identifying the needs and helping them going through this. And this brings me to Philip, who is actually very close to Bosnia, is from the region, is from Serbia, is from the Center for Digital Transformation. It's actually the knowledge broker, if I may say this, a competence broker between what is on the offer and what could be wish, and what is really a need of a business. And my question to you, Philip, is how do you actually do it? Is this what you do, and how do you do it? Hello, Philip. We do have a few issues with Philip. Philip, I cannot hear you. So if I'll go back to Philip, maybe we can go. I don't know. Is Devin Beiser is with us? Devin, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. But I just realized that you were bugging a bit, so maybe we just had connection issues. But I'm here.
Okay, great. Because Philip, I'll give the word to Philip when he's back. He had a problem with it, but because you are, I mean, for everybody listening to us, Philip is actually a designer of digital transformation, and his attempt to actually bring everybody on board, regardless where you are in the path and how big your company is, Devin, you have been really working on the framework condition on the SMEs, because you work for the European Commission, you work for the Director General for Internal Market, Industry, Entrepreneurship, and SMEs. If I think I didn't forget any of the titles, but you focus on the SMEs. Your work is actually developing the framework condition of the SME. So, what does the Commission do in this sense? Because this, I think, and what does it mean for the SMEs? Because this is, I think, it's the crucial issue now with the recovery plans and the recovery after the COVID situation or the reoccurring COVID situation. So could you please take us through this?
I hear you now. Can you hear me now?
Okay, Philip, we have you back. Philip, I gave the word to Devin, but maybe we can come back to you later, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Then I will go ahead in explaining a little bit on what the European Commission has done or does and will be doing for SMEs. First of all, I would like to start off by saying, well, since this panel is called Best Practices to Promote Digital Transformation of the SMEs, some of you may know those figures that SMEs account for 99% of all companies. They provide 2/3 of all jobs, and they account for more than half of Europe's GDP. But the role and I think the importance of SMEs cannot be captured, even though those numbers are already quite significant, cannot be captured by those numbers alone. And then we often refer to different metaphors or synonyms for SMEs. We say they are the backbone of the economy. But whatever metaphor you choose, I think it's important, or what the metaphor tries to highlight is that they act as a local glue in the communities. They employ people and they come up with innovative ideas. So with such a devastating crisis as the COVID crisis, we cannot simply press the reset button now after half a year almost into the crisis. But of course, it's a joint path that we need to come out of that. So forums such as these today are excellent in aligning, I think, and bringing forward what entrepreneurs need, and at the end of the day, to get the financial and practical support those businesses need. So the importance of digitalization and sustainability has already been highlighted by my colleague Sandro at the beginning of the keynote. One thing I would like to add to this dual transition which is often talked about is resilience, which I think is also particularly important in the crisis. So that just means that the SMEs or enterprises in general enhance their capacity to react to those crises. Why digitalization is a key success or key factor for success has also been noted in the Eurobarometer, the most recent one, the 2020 Flash Eurobarometer. And there the EU and the Commission has also asked for the problems SMEs face in digitalizing. And most respondents said that uncertainty about future digital standards, a lack of financial resources, or the regulatory obstacles in place are hindering them in developing their digitalization strategies and processes. So if digitalization should work, SMEs clearly need to be part of it. And they need to be supported to profit from it. As we've heard from previous speakers, not every company is this high-tech company. We have a large chunk of enterprises also being in traditional sectors, which really need the help. So the SME strategy, which was published on March 10th, so from digitalization to sustainability. It proposes actions under 3 pillars. The first one being capacity building and support for this twin transition towards digitalization and sustainability, but also reducing the regulatory burden which companies face and improving market access for companies which want to internationalize, as well as access to finance for enterprises to get access to finance. So the SME strategy itself is also a key tool to recover from the crisis and covers basically all the enterprises there are out there. So anyone from your bakery around the corner to any high-tech startup. So the numerous actions are foreseen in the realm of digitalization. I just want to highlight now maybe 3 of them, and maybe we'll put in the chat 2 links, which then can be, or will send to the conference organizers to share with the audience. One is the Enterprise Europe Network, is a capacity building instrument for SMEs, which is a local network. There are 11 members, EEN members, Enterprise Europe Network members in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which you can find online as well, where companies get concrete expertise, contacts, and events to be connected with the advice they need for growth or for digitalization processes. So that's one key action the SME strategy enhances. The second one I would like to highlight are digital crash courses, which takes into consideration all those big topics we were talking about and a little bit afraid maybe, such as blockchain and artificial intelligence. Here, the digital crash courses is an EU platform which will gather all best practices, so all national courses, webinars, for example, which have been very successful in individual member states in teaching SME employees, or really any employees, on those technologies. And those best courses will be showcased on this platform, which will start from the beginning of next year, so 2021. And the last measure I would like to highlight is the single digital gateway, which is basically a one-stop shop for information on doing business in other member states. And by the end of 2020, citizens and companies who seek to do cross-border business will be able to find out what rules exactly apply in this member state they are trying to export. And later on, in a couple of years' time, even administrative processes should be done in this platform. So that's also the single digital gateway. I might provide you with links to that afterwards. So beyond that, there are many horizontal measures of the SME strategy which aim at creating a more favorable business environment. But yeah, I cannot touch on everyone and do not want to overburden you with information currently. But I think we all need to work together to make the implementation work. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of this panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Devin. I think we will for sure share all the links just for information. So all the participants from Bosnia and Herzegovina could also participate in some of these courses like digital crash courses, or use some of the services and solutions developed via the single digital gateway. Is that correct?
That's fully correct. So the first one, the European Enterprise Europe Network, which I've mentioned already, is established in Bosnia and Herzegovina with 11 members. So currently can be requested by anyone in the country. The second one, Digital Crash Courses, is going to be an online platform, also open to anyone, as is the third one, the Single Digital Gateway. So yes,
great.
To your question.
Great, thank you. So that brings me back now to you, Philip. So you're very close, well, you're from the region, you're very close to Bosnia and Herzegovina. So how do you do the knowledge brokerage and identifying the needs in Serbia? What approach have you taken?
Well, first of all, sorry for losing the connection a couple of minutes ago. We are on the top of the building and we have some workers on the roof trying to fix something, I don't know what. So basically, second of all, please just my name, I'm coming from Center for Digital as an idea to help Serbian small and medium enterprises to do their business better and to use some digital tools that are online or something, around them, just in order to help them how to overcome some problems and issues, whatever, just to make their business faster and easier. But first thing that we did actually in Serbia 2 years ago was a huge survey with almost 400 companies, and the results that we got for 60% have any they don't need it, they don't have knowledge or something like that. 20% they were planning to do some projects such as like softwares, very easy. But it is not. But that is not question before. What are we going to give companies in order to improve their business? Well, the idea was to give companies, based on these results, to give companies exactly what they need, not what they want. And that's was our goal from the beginning. And the idea was to do it somehow on our market, but we didn't know how. So we were traveling all around Europe trying to find the best model. How they do it in Europe. Of course, there are many different modules, but we decided to go on our own, and we decided to go with to train certified consultants for digital transformation, so they can go in companies and do consultancy with the companies to do some prioritization of their projects. To help them what they need to change, and then how to change it, and then implementation. It comes at the end as a final product and the easiest part. Companies are trying to implement something on their own, and this is absolutely not compatible with their business. So that's actually was the biggest problem, how to do it. We trained and certified 43 consultants within 2 years. And so far, they helped almost they provided help to almost 800 companies in Serbia within 2 years, which is like great results. And we still need more consultants in order to serve all companies that are interested for our program. As you said at the beginning, we are between SMEs that are seeking for help and between somebody who is actually giving that help. So we have many technical providers on our market that are giving you help, but maybe you need. And you need somebody to tell you what actually you need. So when our consultants go to the company, they do prioritization of projects, and then by that they make strategies how companies should change their business, and then at the end like implementation of software, but it doesn't have to be software. It can be hardware, or maybe how to post yourself on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you know. So at the end, it comes like easiest part when it comes to implementation. So for now, the 19 pandemic, we also other that we called it for
Philip, you're getting cut off. I don't know.
Can you hear?
Now a bit better. Perhaps you can try even if you're a bit disconnect with the video. Perhaps it could be better. Just to hear what you wanted to say about the pandemic.
Sorry.
Could you repeat that?
Okay, sorry. In direct response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Center for Digital Transformation has developed an emergency support program for SME in Serbia. To support all
hello, Philip. The connection is really bad.
100 companies.
On my end, the connection is really bad. Maybe we can take it. We can take it again on this. So I understood that you created a center for response to the COVID crisis to help the companies. And maybe you could just summarize what were the main outputs of this and main results of the center, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I do hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, a bit better.
Okay, sorry, I'm trying to find where the better connection is. As I said, in direct response to COVID-19 pandemic, Center for Digital Transformation in cooperation with GIZ has developed an emergency support program for SMEs. That program means actually offered 2 days of free consulting support to companies from all industries. Within 2 days, we had over 200 applications. So actually we realized how much companies they need us. They need to do digital transformation, because otherwise, if another pandemic strikes, they won't be able to survive. Hopefully you heard me now.
Yes, excellent. Thank you so much. And I'll use this before giving the floor actually to our audience and to give them the opportunity to pose the questions to our panelists. Maybe if I go back to Gunilla, you've heard different approaches taken, different supports organized. Do you have any challenge to pose to any other of the panelists, or you have a specific question for you to ask to any other of the panelists?
Well, I was thinking maybe I could ask Anna. I would like to know, are these schemes and programs that you provide for small and medium-sized businesses, are they available for a long time, or are they time limited in a way, or how does it look like in your country?
The programs have been developed in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years, most of them. So they are quite young, let's say. And so first the financing was done for 3 years, but now we have financing for 3 more years, and there's no, let's say, end in sight, because it will take some more time, I think, to help all our SMEs finalize the digital transformation. I think we won't be done in 3 years. So right now there's no end date that has been set. We are very lucky because we have a lot of support from our government. So
all right. What would be the main challenges going forward, do you think?
Well, the companies that are really interested in a digital transformation, I think we have reached them in the last 3 years. They know that we exist. They know that those programs exist. And for us, it's very difficult or we don't know yet how to do this, to reach the companies that are not interested in digital transformation, because we think they don't really have a choice in the next 5 years. And yeah, we are not sure how to, we try a lot. We try different ways, different measures. to get those companies that say, well, it's working well for me right now, and I don't see the point right now, because it might not be working well in 3 to 5 years.
So
And I
you
suppose-
just, sorry,
Go
I
on,
just
go on.
realized that you too have a communication, big communication sort of challenge to
Yes.
work with. Yeah, thanks.
So my question to both of you would be, since you're both facing communication challenges, communicating the digital transformation to the SMEs, is also your approaches and lessons learned available to perhaps the Chamber of Commerce in Bosnia and Herzegovina or the local actors there? Would you be prepared to share the approaches and the lessons learned? So the program, how you developed, how much it costed, and how did you do it? Is that available for something? Also for the local actors in Bosnia and Herzegovina and the region?
Personally,
Yeah.
yes, we are happy to share everything that we learned, of course.
Yeah,
I think we all face the same challenges.
The same goes for us. Very, very open to share with all of interested people around Bosnia and Herzegovina.
All right, that's great. So it gives me also opportunity. So we have a bit of a time before I open it up. Do you have any challenge? Anybody who would like to ask anybody? Philip, since you talked last.
Well,
any of your fellow panelists?
Give one observation, if I may. Whenever we talk to the companies, we are trying to explain them that information technologies will never be developing this fast again, which means that it is going to be faster in the future. So you better accept it as soon as possible, otherwise you are gone. And there, especially after this COVID pandemic, I mean, it is still ongoing, but especially after this COVID pandemic, they realized actually they need it. And that's the main thing that we are trying to communicate, and hopefully all industries will understand it very fast.
Well, I just wanted to add that if you, my understanding is that you approach a company, say that you need digital transformation. It's not perhaps a good way of communicating, I think. I don't know if you have the same experience. You can talk about how do you want to enhance your efficiency? Do you want to become a more interesting employer or something like that? Is that something that you recognize, or?
Well, we are not telling them you need digital transformation. They are aware of it. Of course, they will improve their business and, sales and everything. But on the way they are doing that, it could be wrong, because it's not just to implement some software, hardware, whatever. It is something that as somebody mentioned before, you need to realize your business processes, how they are defined. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So it's all about business processes. What would we like to achieve? And you need to set your business processes like that, so you understand them, and then implementation of some hardware or software is easy.
Ne znam, vaše razumijevanje.
The companies, they don't have business processes defined well, and that's the biggest issue. So whenever we come to the company, the first thing that we are trying to do is actually to go through their business process and to tell them, listen, this is not okay for you. You have to change it immediately. So this is something that how we are trying to communicate with the companies, and for now it goes well.
So I would use the opportunity then to break in and ask maybe Devin, how do you also then, because this is important on a very operational level, but do you do the same thing also, and how do you do it on a very policy level? So have the policy, how do you design the policies and intervention changed as well? So are they more focused? Are they more, let's say, easy to digest, or how do you approach it?
The question in response to the COVID crisis.
Yeah.
Yes. For the SME strategy, it has been managed to have private, so for example, during the lockdown phase of most member states, immediate crisis relief measures were put in place in terms of access to finance. But then we looked at the SME strategy itself and saw which ones are really the most pertinent measures to help SMEs get out of it as quickly as possible and to cushion them as well. So we have prioritized some measures. We have sped up a couple of others. And that's basically how we approached the challenge which came out of the COVID crisis.
Okay. And do you have anything to add to this? How did you address the COVID crisis? Did it affect your work? And to hearing what your fellow panelists have said, did you approach it differently? Did you also have, like in Serbia, did you have also the special program, or how did you go around with it?
Yes, well, in Luxembourg, all businesses had to stop for 1 month, I think. So there was no work being done at all. So the first thing we did was make a hotline and lobby the government for help and help our companies survive. I think that was all we did for 6 weeks in March and April. After that period, well, we switched a lot to webinars. We tried to focus on cybersecurity, on working from home, because as I said, we represent traditional companies. They are not necessarily used to working remotely. Their security is not adapted to working from home for 3 months. So we focused a lot on that security, working from home. And we are lucky in Luxembourg to have a national e-commerce platform, which has been made free for companies for this year because of COVID. So we helped them also launch their e-commerce businesses during the lockdown in Luxembourg. So we tried to help them survive. We did a lot of webinars on staying in touch with your clients on social media while you are closed and stuff like that. So we try to really address the crisis with very practical webinars and tips.
Thank you. Any other lessons learned from Sweden?
Yes, a lot of lessons learned. We are the actual national agency working with the furloughs. Is that the right word? I don't know. The money get paid. The money is paid to the companies so that they can keep their operations going. So it's a big operation that we run at the moment. But also there's a lot of different initiatives in the government's box of different measures that the government is taking now. So it's we don't know if it's enough yet, but there's a lot of energy going into keeping the companies there in the market.
Great. Thank you. So I'll open the question and answer round also with the comment that I think it's valuable to all of you, or it addresses to all of you. I would like to hear your feedback on this. I have a comment from Azra saying that she believes that there's a lot of capacity already, experience and talent in the IT sector in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but there needs to be a better cross-industry education government cooperation to actually transpose and to enable the communication between the IT sector, who is at top-notch or the leading the transformation and the standard technology, and actually the SMEs that are actually only starting or helping them to formulate their needs and to give them a very practical solutions. Does Azra, according to you, summarizes this problem or the possible way forward in a very concrete and a good way? Is this really an answer, a recommendation for the how do you go on with the digital transformation in the future? Can I challenge one of the? Do you think it's the right way forward? So having a more cross-industry education government cooperation within the country to actually help the IT sector then correspond to the needs of the SMEs. Is that correct?
Well,
is that the way forward that you would say? Philip or Anne, Gunilla?
Definitely, that is something that we are doing here in Serbia. We have a partnership with government agencies, and one of them, Serbian Development Agency, are actually is trying to be our partner by giving co-financing. They are co-financing companies that went through our program when it comes to implementation. So it was our government actually realized that that is something good that we are doing and trying to do it and to promote it all around the Serbia through their agencies. And as I said, one of them agencies, Digital Agency, the Development Agency of Serbia, it is co-financing implementation of solution developed through the consultancy, and that would be definitely a good idea for all countries in the region to be supported by their own governments.
I think so too. We are part of the Digital Skills and Jobs Coalition in Luxembourg, which has that as objective, and we also work a lot with our governmental job agency to identify which skills will be needed in the future, how the economy will change, and try to also upskill people that are looking for jobs so that they can respond to future needs. I think it's very, very important. Also, as a professional chamber, we organize vocational training in Luxembourg, so this is also something where we take a lot of care to give young people the skills that they will need in 10 years' time and not necessarily now.
And I could add that in Sweden, we have a project now trying to set out a learning portal so that the skills development needs in established companies can be addressed. And there are also a lot of universities involved in different digital skills development schemes. So it's a lot of happening due to COVID-19 because it's sort of forces everyone to take action in much faster than before.
But also that's very useful. I think this being a market actor rather than responding to the market crisis is an important element in actually implementing and supporting the digital transformation. I don't know, Devin, is Commission doing something in this aspect as well? Probably you're working together closely with your colleagues in different departments, DG Employment, Educational, DG Air. Do you also share these views? How do you go around at the Commission level? All right. I think we lost a bit of Devin. If he will come back, I'll help him to answer the question. But we have another question. Perhaps I'll challenge both three of you in that order: Luxembourg, Sweden, and Serbia. So, what would be the major? What would you define as a major digital transformation opportunities for the SMEs, and how did you help them to improve their? Did these opportunities improve them to improve their operational efficiency or better customer relationship with accessibility to a higher customer base, or even did you help them to redesign business models and creating new value opportunities in their products and services? Could you, in this order, how did you? Could you just summarize it, Anne, and then perhaps Gunilla, and also how did you do it in Serbia? Philip, could you summarize it?
I'm sorry, what kind of opportunity are we
talking
about? I'm not sure I understood.
What kind of opportunities did you recognize them, or could you summarize the major the major opportunities that arise from digital transformation? What were the major opportunities for the SMEs?
Okay. I think this is very specific for the sector that I work in, the traditional sector, because it's very skills based. So you still need the skills to do the plumber or the electrician. They still need their skills. What we really see as major opportunity is the way the service you give, the way you talk to your clients and how you interact with your clients. We saw, for example, during COVID, that there were some plumbers that were working remotely. So they offered their services remotely. They helped. They couldn't go to people's houses, but they helped them via video and so on to repair themselves what was wrong, if it wasn't too bad, let's say. And I think the interaction with the clients and the different services the biggest opportunity in the skilled crafts sector.
Thank you. Gunilla, what do you say would be the major opportunities that come up, from the digital transformation process?
Well, I would say that at one point or another, if you develop your digital skills in the company, there will be a different business model to in the end, but slowly developing for most companies. So they go by project and project in their own company, and they have to decide themselves what they find important. I think that's our findings at least, because otherwise nothing will happen. They will have to see that this will make us make more money and be more interesting to suppliers or customers, of course. And so that would be. It has to be important for them, otherwise nothing happens, and it has to come from themselves. And then you can ask them questions and perhaps a lot of critical questions, but it has to be the core of the company will, so to the need to change.
And Philip, what would be a summary in Serbia? What are the major digital transformation opportunities?
Well, I definitely agree with Gunilla. Of course, you have to do first prioritization of your needs. So does it mean improve your business processes, models, services, or products? Anyhow, you have to look how to be more effective with your customers, how to find new customers, and everything else. And this is something that definitely digital transformation on your own can help you a lot.
Great, thank you. We are running a bit out of time. I suppose the organizers and the panelists are okay if additional questions arise, that you can be contacted also later on. But I would conclude the round of the panel with a simple request to pose a simple one phrase, one sentence recommendation to the SMEs or to the chambers of commerce in Bosnia and Herzegovina. One practical tip that you would give on how to actually face the digital transformation. Can I challenge you, Philip? Since what would be in one sentence the recommendation that you would pass on to the audience how to face the digital transformation?
As I said before, do it now, otherwise tomorrow can be too late. So
okay, thank you. Anna?
I would say learn from your peers, and if you're an agency or a chamber or an institution, use success stories to showcase what can be done and what it will cost. Great,
and we had a very grateful offer from both you and Gunilla to share the experience. And Gunilla, from you, one sentence recommendations to our audience in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
I agree with my fellow panelists, but I could add like a paraphrase on the well-known sports company, just do it, I would say. So get going and try and get the help you need and collaborate. Because if you don't know it all yourself, you have to find someone who can guide you along.
And I'll take it, start small, start very concrete, and then you can work on upgrading it And of course, you have all the support from the actors, from three of you, the fantastic support that you are delivering in your countries, but also the Commission is planning some actions. So with this, I will conclude the panel because our time is up. I wouldn't take more time that has been allocated. And I give the word back to the organizers. Thank you, panelists, once again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.